some other notable games this week. The talk of college football, Texas goes into Tuscaloosa and defeats Alabama. It is the first double-digit home loss under Nick Saban at Alabama. The Crimson Tide fall 34-24. And I don't know. Tell me what you think, Matthew. Is Texas back?
I'm still sticking with my preseason pick of Texas under 9.5 wins. I'll say that. I don't think
Okay.
that the Alabama win necessarily propels them to the playoffs like de facto. They still have a lot of games to win, a lot of tough teams to play. This was probably, I mean, on paper, maybe the toughest game on their schedule, but there's still a lot of room for them to trip up. I could see them getting a little too forward thinking.
I think that I don't know. I might be overreacting. I think Texas might be the number one team in the. I do think that obviously Alabama is a great measuring stick. I think they're going to have a down year, as you know. I predicted them to have 2 or 3 losses this year, but that's a huge step forward from where this program in Texas has been, and that's not an easy thing. Even if Alabama is in a year, I think they've won something like 70 of the last 72 home games. So it was a big win for Texas. They looked on both lines of scrimmages. I'm not an Alabama hater. I enjoy watching Alabama. I like Nick Saban. This was one of those few games where I was actually rooting against Alabama.
Yeah, I mean, if you think back, Texas was pretty close to dethroning Alabama last year. I know that game, it wasn't exactly one possession, I don't think, if I'm remembering correctly, but I remember it being pretty close, and Alabama didn't necessarily run away with it, so maybe Texas is back, but I'm not hitching my wagon to the Longhorns just yet.
All right, another matchup this week, Nebraska at Colorado. Coach Prime and Colorado get their first home win. That was only a 3-point spread, and they end up winning 36-14. So Colorado continuing to prove the naysayers wrong. I'm still a little hesitant. I know you're all about it, and I saw the video. I don't know if you noticed, Matthew, one of the videos you posted on YouTube this week. Someone was commenting on your take on Colorado.
Oh, I didn't see that actually.
Okay.
I actually saw something that somebody commented on one of my videos where I was kind of talking about Dabo and wanting to get rid of him. And they commented was replace who are we going to replace him with? And
Yeah, I did see that one too.
I found the perfect answer with some with Deion Sanders.
Yeah. So yeah, Colorado 2-0.
So I think Colorado has a good chance to win the Pac-12. And I also wanted to say that the 3-point or them beating the 3-point spread was not a surprise if you were following my weekly picks from last week.
We'll get into those here in a little bit, but yeah, I tend to side differently with you on Colorado. You got Oregon, a trip to Oregon coming up. You got a matchup with USC. I'm holding out faith in Colorado till I see them against a quality opponent. Now, I mean, obviously USC is a quality opponent and one of the best teams in the country. So, but I'm interested to see how they fare against those guys. Another big matchup: App State and North Carolina. It was a electric game last year when App State won at home and went to overtime. I didn't really get a chance to watch much of it. When we got back to Greenville, my dad and I went to pick up some carryout, and it was on the big screen. But dealing with some weather there, a lot of weather Saturday and Sunday across the country with football, but the Tar Heels end up pulling it out. UNC was a double-digit favorite and had to go to overtime to beat App State 40-34.
Yeah, I thought the App State magic was going to continue, but they just didn't have it in them this time. But I have a scenario. What if App State were to have beaten North Carolina this past week and we beat Florida State not this coming game, but the next week? I think that puts the ACC out of playoff contention.
Not well, it could, but I mean, if Clemson beats Florida State, and then goes on and runs the table. Do I think that's likely? No. But if Clemson ran the table after beating Florida State, I'd say Clemson was in the playoff. But that would throw a wrench in it.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
also have
with
that.
I was just gonna say with the divisionless ACC this year, it's you might face Florida State twice, and I would think 2 wins over a good Florida State team, with us being some of their only losses, puts us in a good spot to make the playoffs still.
Yeah, and two, the landscape of college football is a little different this year. You have the last year of the Pac-12. You got 2 remaining teams, but the Pac-12 has 8 ranked teams right now. The SEC seems like it's down a little bit,
Yeah.
and you have a handful of solid teams in the ACC. So the last year of the 14 playoff, um, I don't know, we could see some teams that we've never seen before in that college football playoff. So I think it's shaping up for a good season. I think there's a lot more parity this year, which college football fans have complained about over the last decade, with getting tired of seeing Alabama win it. They were tired of Clemson. I'd imagine there's a lot of people tired of Georgia at the moment too. So I don't know. I'm pulling for some of these upsets and some chaos, as long as it doesn't relate to Clemson.
Yeah, I wonder if the NIL really helped the parity within the college football national landscape, if that just really evened out instead of kids just wanting to go play for Alabama and the SEC. You end up going to schools like USC that have a lot of money, or Texas and schools like that, so, or Colorado
Yeah,
even.
yeah. Those three teams specifically. I mean, um, have done, especially USC and Texas, have invested a lot in NIL money. So I think that's a fair argument to make there. Speaking of ACC, SEC, we had a matchup that did not go my way according to my picks last week, but Texas A&M traveled to Miami. The Hurricanes get out of that game with a big win, 48-33. I'll also ask you this, Matthew: is Miami back?
No. I don't think this is necessarily a high quality win. They're
No.
two pretty middle of the pack teams in their respective conferences. So I did want to just start chanting ACC though, but I'm gonna quell those feelings.
You asked me last week if Dabo's seat was getting hot. What about Jimbo Fisher's seat?
Now, Jimbo's probably been warm for a little while, I bet. I mean, they put a lot of money into getting him over there in College Station, so they're probably weighing the buyout versus the wins right now. So
Yeah,
I think Jimbo's seat is definitely hotter than Dabo's.
yeah.